Hi, I'm Shannon Seaver. Today we are looking at survey problems and using Venn diagrams to solve them. So our agenda for today, like I said, use Venn diagrams to visualize a survey result. And we will use survey results to complete Venn diagrams and answer questions about the survey. Our first example today is having to do with a survey about music. Respondents were asked, do you listen to classical music? Do you listen to jazz? And use the diagram to answer the following questions. How many respondents listen to classical music? Well, if we assume that classical music is in the group A, or in set A, I'm going to put an A over that, and we're going to say jazz is B, then we can assume that everything within the circle of A, that's in regions 1 and 2, are part of classical music. So we will say that 370 plus 120 equals 490. So a total of 490 people listen to classical music. How many people listen to jazz? Well, that's everything in region B, which is 2 and 3. So we're going to add those two together. We got 120 plus 220, and that total was 340 people listen to jazz music. How many respondents listen to both classical and jazz? Well, remember, when we see that word and, it's the same thing as saying A intersect B. So that's going to be in region 2, and that's a whole total of 120 people listen to both classical and jazz. Let's continue this on the next slide. How many respondents listen to classical music or jazz? We got that word or. And remember, or was a union B. So it's going to be everything in regions 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to add those together. 370 plus 120 plus 220. And that total is 710. Part E asks, how many respondents listen to classical music but not jazz? So really, this is dealing with the region of 1 because it's taking out region 2 because those people listen to jazz. So that is a total of 370 people. Likewise, in F, it's asking how many people listen to jazz but not classical music. So we're taking out region 2 from B, and it's just going to be region 3. So that's going to be 220 people. The G asked how many people listen to neither, and that's going to be everything outside the 2 rings. So that's going to be region 4. So 290 people listen to neither classical nor jazz. And the last question was, how many people were surveyed? Well, in order to know that, you need to add all the sections together. So that's 370 plus 120 plus 220 plus 290. And that total was 1,000 people were surveyed. So when you're solving survey problems, you need to use the survey's description to define the sets, first of all, and then draw the Venn diagram. You want to use the survey's results to determine the cardinality for each region, and here's the important part. Start at the intersection of the steps and work your way outward. Then you will use the completed Venn diagram to answer the problem's questions. So here we have another example, solving a survey problem. This survey is taken that asks 2,000 randomly selected U.S. and Mexican adults the following question. Do you agree or disagree that the primary cause of poverty is societal injustice? The results of the survey showed, and here's some important information we need to highlight, that 1,060 people agreed with the statement and 400 Americans agreed with the statement. We also learned that 2,000 people were asked in total, and this is also important. If half of the adults surveyed were Americans, A, how many Mexicans agreed with the statement, and how many Mexicans disagreed with the statement. So we need to first define our two sets. And I'm going to suggest that we define the left one as U.S. people. And on the right, and this may be a little surprising, instead of U.S. versus Mexican, we're going to do U.S. versus agreed. Okay, so we know that the middle is Americans that agreed, and we have that information right here. 400 Americans agreed. That is part of the reason why I chose U.S. and agreed, because we know that particular piece, and it was working from the inside out. So if we know that 400 Americans agreed, and a total of 10,060 agreed, we can find this number right here by taking 1,060 minus 400, and that's going to be a total of 660 people here. The other clue that we have is that half of the adults surveyed were Americans. Well, we know we have a total of 2,000 adults. So this region right here is going to be half of 2,000. But we also have this 400 that's already in that circle. So we need to subtract the 400 out of that. So half of 2,000 is 1,000. Minus 400, that's going to be 600 right here. We have everything inside the circles, but we do not know yet what is outside the circle. We have 2,000 total surveyed, so I'm going to put in this 2,000 minus everything that's on the inside of these two circles. So minus 600, minus 400, minus 660. So that total is going to be 340 on the outside here. That's the number that we really need to know for the outside. Now we can answer our questions. It said, how many Mexicans agreed with the statement? Well, that would mean it would be outside the U.S. circle, because it would be Mexicans if they're not in that circle, and inside the agreed part. So that would be 660 Mexicans agreed with that statement. Part B said, how many Mexicans disagreed with the statement? Well, anything outside of this circle would be disagreed and Mexican, because right here, this 600 would be disagreed in U.S. So that would be a total of 340 people. Now I want you to take some time to try this one on your own. Pause the video and then turn it back on to see if your solutions are correct. So once again, this is similar to the last one. We're looking at women versus men and agreed. And the important information that we have here is 2,000 U.S. adults, 1,190 people agreed, 700 women agreed. So if we know that women and agreed are the intersection, that's why I chose women and agreed here and put 700 there. That's probably the hardest part of the entire problem, is figuring out what your circles are going to be. So continuing on from there, after calculating everything out, we have 490 men agreed with the statement and 510 disagreed. Now what we're going to do is take some information and actually construct a Venn diagram from it. Remember, we want to work from the intersection out. And the other thing we need to do is decide what our circles are going to be. So we're looking at 60 people total, and we are looking at comedies, dramas, and science fiction. So I'm going to call this one comedies as C, D as drama, and science fiction as SF. Part A said there are 6 people that like comedies, dramas, and science fiction. So I have 6 right here in the middle. B said 13 people like comedies and dramas. That would be in this section total, in this football region. We already have 6 there. So if we have 13 total, we need to take 13 minus 6 for this. So that's a total of 7 here. Part C said we have 10 people that like comedies and science fiction. So 10 people that like comedies and science fiction are in this region between the C and the SF. We already have 6 here, so it's going to be 10 minus 6. That'll be 4. And 11 people like dramas and science fiction. That's in this region here, so 11 minus 6 is 5. Likewise, we need to figure out the inside of the circles here. So we have 26 people like comedies. So 26 minus these 3 that are already in there. So minus 7, minus 6, and minus 4. If we find that out, you'll find that there's a total of 9 in that section right there. With dramas, we have 21 people. So it's going to be 21 minus these 3, so minus 7, minus 6, minus 5. And that is a total of 3. In science fiction, we have 25 people that liked it. So we'll take 25 minus 4 minus 6 minus 5, and that's a total of 10 in this region right here. The last region we need to figure out is on the outside in the universal area. We know we have a total of 60 people that were contacted, so it's going to be 60 minus everything that is on the inside of the circle. So I'm going to take minus 9, minus 4, minus 6, minus 7, minus 5, minus 3, and minus 10. That is a total of 16 people on the outside that's still in the universe. So that's how we work on these. We work from the inside out. Now I want you to take time to figure this out on your own for the next one. So pause the video, and this one happens to be in English, so you're going to have to maybe make your list on the side and see if you get the right answer. Did you get this answer? I hope you did, and if you didn't, come to class and we'll talk about it. That is the end of this video, and I hope this helps.